Hello, and welcome to another episode of eBay Scavengers. This is episode number 123 on ebayscavengers.com. So today, Jay and I are interviewing Steve Raiken, and you might recognize that name from Raiken Profit YouTube channel. He's an eBay seller. He also sells on Amazon, and he has a very popular YouTube video following. So let's talk to him.
All right, so Steve, I'm really psyched to have you. This is Steve from a Raiken Profit, and you're kind of like this a YouTube star that we've been watching for a while. And you actually reached out to us, which is really nice. You kind of complimented our podcast, and so we
always like that.
Well, we've always kind of wanted to talk to him, so here we are. You know?
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on the show. A few people were mentioning eBay Scavengers, and I was thinking to myself, what is an eBay Scavenger? That's a cool name. So I ended up typing it into the YouTube search and I saw your channel come up and I saw all these videos and all this 20, 30-minute segments. I'm like, wow, this is awesome because, there's not a lot of people out there that are putting out constant videos with full content. So that's really what I like. I like listing. I like working and kind of having it in the background. So, I was listening to your stuff and I was impressed and I was like, wow, this stuff is awesome. They're really talking about some good stuff that helps people. And I'm like, you know what? I got to contact these guys.
What's interesting for us, and why we've been following you on YouTube is that eBay seems like it's kind of split between two different groups. There's the people that started back in the 90s, and they seem to be a lot of older people, just because time has passed. And then there are the young guys like us. And do you find that young people are getting now into selling on eBay? Are you talking to them and seeing them?
Most of the people that I interact with and a lot of people that watch my YouTube channel, and they're doing eBay and Amazon and all the e-commerce, most of them are usually between, I'd say the age group is probably between like 30 and 55. I'm 27, so there's really not a lot of people that I know of, especially just in my local town and friends. But, even on YouTube where I'm interacting with thousands of people, most of the people aren't very young. And when I say young, maybe 16 to 29. But there are a few people. There are some, young guys coming on the scene, and they're trying to get started because they're sick and tired of, clocking in at the restaurant and getting, screamed at by the manager. And they kind of want to, when you're at like a normal job or a 9 to 5, especially when you're younger and maybe you're not at a career or you're going for a career, maybe you're just at like a job. It's like your income's usually, it's kind of set unless you're like a salesman. So a lot of these younger guys that are coming on, and there's a few, they want to control their destiny. They want to make more money, and it's a good opportunity because the more work you put in, the more you educate yourself, the more money you can
we're
make.
Always about the numbers, and on our blog, we post our numbers every week, and we try and help new people understand how to break that stuff down about the amount of work and the amount of, how much inventory costs and then how much people make minus the fees. I mean, when you do the numbers as far as what people make, especially young people, if they're only being paid $10 an hour or $15 an hour, I mean, it's really... it's really like it's small change compared to what people can make online. And that's, I guess, why I asked the question, because you would think young people who are, they're hip, they're supposedly into technology. I really find young people just do not think about selling online and scavenging, like we do.
You want to know what it is? I think it's, we're all brought up by kids, by, our parents that, go for the conservative dollar, go for the sure dollar, go for, get that job and get that sure check. It's when you're in eBay, you're independent. You've got to be creative. You've got to be self-sufficient. You've got to be your own drive, your own motivation. You got to get up. There's no one saying, Jay, you got a list. Steve, Steve, you got to ship out the items today. I've had friends who have, they've been like, wow, Steve, I want to get into it, and I kind of teach them and I get them going. But you want to know what they're lacking? They've never really created those positive patterns of being self-sufficient and being able to kind of get yourself moving in the right direction, where all you have to do at a normal job is just clock in, and then everyone just kind of tells you what to do. If you don't do what you do, there's a consequence very quickly. Whereas on eBay, it's not super quick, but you'll run out of money if you stop working.
I mean, we always tell people this is kind of a mantra. eBay is a numbers game. The more you list, the more money you're going to make. And if you're lazy and don't list, you're not going to make any cash. So it's really simple, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a numbers game. And, some people argue, they say, just recently I put a picture on my Facebook of a bunch of clothing hangers that I purchased from Walmart, like 150 of them, because I went out and bought a whole bunch more inventory. I was growing my inventory, and somebody made a comment, which is cool. Everyone's entitled to opinion. He made a comment and said, if you're buying more hangers, that means you're not selling enough. And I argued back, and I said, yeah, it could be the case. And I agreed. It is a little slow right now for me with clothes. With eBay, there's always ups and downs, it seems. I said one of the keys to, growing or making more money is growing your inventory. It really is a numbers game. And if you look back at when you had 100 listings versus 200, 300, usually it's increasing in your overall gross profits and gross sales.
Agree with
The people who listen to our show know that our strategy on eBay is a large inventory. So we have about...
We have 3,500 items on eBay right now.
Wow, that's a lot. That's great.
And for us, it's all about, put a work in up front, and then things just sell. So like we're on vacation. Well, we are on vacation. We're not at home right now, but our store is still open, and we're selling things every day. So I think that's different than if you're just focused on having like 100 items up and just trying to sell only those 100 items. It's just a different strategy, and ours is more of a long game.
Absolutely. And especially with clothing, which for the viewers, if you don't know me, I specialize in clothing, men's clothing. And when it comes to clothing, you really need to be patient. You need to grow your inventory. I prefer more of like the long tail approach where I'm setting the prices high. And even though they might not sell within a week or two or even a few months, when they do sell, it makes it worthwhile. Definitely. If you're in it for $1 or $2 and then it pops for maybe even 3 months down the road for $50 or $60, or you're in it for $5 and it sells for $35. I mean, it is a very nice return on your investment.
Okay, so let's start telling some stories here. For people that don't know you or haven't watched your YouTube videos, how did you start that store? Because it seems like you're buying and selling it's clothes.
I sell on eBay, I sell on Amazon, I sell on Craigslist. I am looking to get an antique booth, but just in terms of eBay, it is mostly clothes, but I will sell other types of items on there. Anything that has value that, I feel wouldn't be a good fit for like Amazon FBA.
So are you selling, like what percentage of its profits every a month are coming from eBay, versus like Amazon or Craigslist?
I'd say it's probably a 60% eBay and maybe a 20% Craigslist and Amazon FBA. But again, it really depends. During summertime, I go really hard with the bicycles on Craigslist. And, I could be doing 50 to 100 of them, just within a short few month period.
Amazing.
Wait. So if you're going to like at yard sales and buying old like 10 speeds and selling them on Craigslist?
Pretty much. Thrift stores. I don't really go to auctions, which is another good opportunity. Craigslist, I pick off there a lot. A lot of picking, they call it sniping items off of Craigslist. You got to be very quick, and you got to know what you got there. But besides that, just to give you a little story, because I know it's story time right now. I got started about probably a little over a year and a half ago. I was working at a restaurant. I was working at a few pizzerias and ended up working at Cracker Barrel. I was working in the restaurant industry, and it was cool. I liked working with the people. There was the pretty ladies there, so that was definitely good. And but you want to know what? I didn't like it. I felt trapped, and I was really looking for something that I could do on my own. I wanted to start a business, but whenever you start a business, there's always a lot of legalities. There's initial investment. There's buying the cost of goods. There's a whole bunch of things. So I was looking for something that had a low startup cost that I could run on my own and really control my destiny. Looking on YouTube, kind of checking out some videos, and I came across the reselling community or the picking community, whatever you want to call it. And I came across the Bonafide Hustler. I came across, what's his name, Redneck Picker. I came across Autumn's Upscale Resale. I got super inspired because it was everyday people, just like you folks, everyday people who are, just making it happen and making money. And I was so grateful because everybody was teaching their methods, their strategies. They were talking about tips. They were giving you, a firsthand bird's eye view of what to do and what to buy. So I just kind of got started, and slowly but surely probably about 6 months down the road, actually to backtrack a little bit, I was doing pretty much Craigslist then, and I'm in Connecticut. And once winter came, Craigslist pretty much died for bicycles. So I was looking for a way to accumulate inventory, and that's how I found my niche of clothing. And as you guys know, if you walk into any thrift store, what's pretty much the number one thing you see is clothing, clothing or books. And going forward, about 6 months later, from what I started, I pretty much went full time and haven't looked back since. And, brought everybody along on the journey with the YouTube videos. as I progressed. And I don't claim to be an expert. I definitely have a good amount of knowledge, but every day I'm learning something new. There's always something new to learn in terms of maybe how to operate your eBay business, how to make it more efficient, how to create a system.
This is interesting. You know, we're all about scavenging because that's really where the value comes in, is your ability to go out there and find items for cheap and then sell them online. So we haven't really talked to anyone that buys and sells on Craigslist. I mean, we've always talked about that. We unfortunately live in like the country.
So Craigslist is dead.
So Craigslist really is dead, and we always imagine, man, if we lived in a city, we'd be like Craigslist.
Yeah,
so how does that work? Did you are trying to find bikes, and you just have like a search out, a bike is up, and then did you call them, pick it up, and then put it back on Craigslist?
Yeah, pretty much that's it. I mean, depending on how you acquire the actual item, that could be a bike, that could be a juicer or a blender or a piece of furniture. If I'm going to snipe something out, I'll pretty much just keep refreshing the page. Or you could set up these little alerts that they have now with these apps. It's initialed IFFT, I believe. I'm not sure what it's called. You guys use the same thing. So you set up these little application alerts where it pretty much scans Craigslist looking for specific keywords. So maybe I'm looking for a Trek bicycle or a Cannondale bicycle. I'll put those specific keywords into this program, and the program pretty much works for you all day long, where before you have to constantly scan it.
And then as far as eBay goes, so you're focusing on men's clothes. I mean, the thing about with clothes, we always talk with it's new people because we started it's with clothes as well, and we still sell clothes. But we've also expanded, is that there's so many clothes. How are you picking what clothes to buy and focus on?
It really all goes back to educating yourself. You know, if you want to put yourself in a position to get lucky, well, first of all, you got to be there. You got to get your butt up and get to the thrift store. But even before that, you've got to constantly. What I did was I constantly searched the eBay sold and completed listings. So I was getting acquainted with not only the brands that were selling, but the price points that were selling, the styles that were selling, the sizes that were selling, the patterns that were selling. Because a Ralph Lauren shirt sells for $20. It doesn't mean the next one's going to sell for 20 because there's so many factors that could come into play. So I really just beat up the sold and completed listings. I made it my best friend. And a lot of credit has to be given to others on YouTube as well. I mean, just for, talking about these brands. Hart's Motor Company, I'm not sure if you've ever watched his videos on YouTube. Awesome guy.
How many hours a week are you spending scavenging?
The last few months, I've been working on a few other projects, Amazon FBA, creating my new program that teaches people about blazers, sports coats, and suits. I've been working on just a few other things. So I've probably only been putting in, on average, about 10 to 15 hours a week on my eBay business the last few months. And that's everything. Maybe going scavenging maybe once a week. And, I've still been able to pull in around $5,000 gross sales a month without really putting in much effort because of what you spoke about earlier is I did so much legwork up front in terms of quality items and taking nice pictures. So if I'm really going at it and I'm not working on a lot of different projects, I'd like to spend, at least 30 hours a week to 40 hours a week. And, I might go out thrifting maybe twice or three times a week at most. Recently, just because I've become so knowledgeable and I know exactly what I'm going for. And there's just so much inventory out there. Like I literally don't have to leave a 5-mile radius.
Yeah. We live in a country with so much abundance and waste. I'm always confused when people say they can't find stuff because I'm just like, man, we find too much of it. Like this
in our little tiny rural town,
Yeah, I think if you're having difficulty finding inventory, I think there's a problem within. It might be you're not putting in enough time, or you're not educating yourself, or you're not really looking. Sometimes you got to comb through a whole thrift store and really, look through it all because, especially when you're selling clothing, a lot of the clothing items are, you're going to want to pass them up. The gyms are kind of hidden. You got to go through all the racks. So sometimes you might just want to look a little harder, but they're out there. It's really, I don't know about you folks, but it's really hard for me nowadays to leave a thrift store without having at least something in my hand.
We're shocked when we leave a thrift store with just like one thing. We're like, what?
Now, as you mentioned Amazon FBA, we do not do Amazon FBA, although I'm always interested in hearing how people work that. So are you doing a retail arbitrage, going to big box stores, buying it on clearance and reselling it?
I've experimented a little bit with that. I haven't put a whole bunch of effort into it, but I have gone to places like CVS and Toys R Us and like Walgreens and picked up stuff. And it seems to do all right. It sells. One thing that I don't like about it is if you buy something, there's a good shot that the market's going to get slaughtered, and you're going to have to wait it out until the supply kind of dwindles down. Unlike eBay, like where you have something of value, usually it's going to stay somewhat consistent, where Amazon, you could just, the whole market gets slaughtered so quick, especially if you're doing like the easy retail arbitrage where you're just going to big box stores and just scanning stuff and selling it. That's the easy stuff. If you really want to make money with retail arbitrage, and I don't do this currently, but I know the folks that are making a lot of money, they're creating their own listings. They're finding items out there that aren't even on Amazon, and they're taking their own pictures, creating their own listings. They're bundling items together. They're going to trade shows. They're talking to companies who have products that they want to put on there. And that's really where the money is, because anytime the barrier to entrance is super easy, you're going to have a lot of competition. Whereas to bundle items, to go to trade shows, to make exclusive deals, to, you know, take your own pictures and get your UPC codes, is that what it's called? Yeah, that takes work. That takes more than just scanning something and pushing a button. So I think the money really is in there. And Dallas Moore on YouTube, he talks about this a lot, and he's killing it. I mean, he's making ridiculous money on there. Really, I don't see the future so bright for that.
I think it's for us. I mean, one reason why we just haven't really gone into Amazon is because there's really only so much time in the day, and we just don't have time to be on multiple platforms. And eBay works. It's for us. We kind of understand it, and that's where we're doing it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I like to diversify, and I always preach diversifying, but you know, especially if you've got another tech business on the side and you got Amazon, so you already are somewhat diversified, but there really is only so much time in the day. I mean, especially if you don't have a bunch of employees and whatnot.
Now, let's get on to the next step in the process. So you've bought your inventory. We understand that. What's your process for putting it on eBay? You know, are you doing it in front of a movie? Are you doing it quiet? Like, who's listing?
Well, pretty much my process is I have a friend / helper / employee, whatever you want to call them, who pretty much I go out and pick all the stuff, the clothing items. I put them on my clothing hangers, and I label them up with an inventory number and whatnot, and I drop them all off at his house. He's got the mannequin there. He's got the backdrop. He's got the light, the umbrella, the lights, and everything. I put all the stuff at his house. He has a spare room over there, and I drop all the stuff off for him. I drop off a bunch of listing templates that has all the information he needs to fill out, and he takes all the pictures. He fills out the listing template. I pick it back up. I drop it off at my storage unit where I hold all my stuff, and I pretty much take the listing template home and just pop them all up on eBay.
That's amazing.
That's like everyone's. I mean,
that's everyone's dream.
When we talk a lot about it on our blog, everyone's like, "How do I find someone to list for me?" So, how did you find this guy? Is he like a high school buddy, or what's up?
Yeah, he's pretty much a high school buddy. You know, he's been going through some tough times with work and stuff, and you know, we've been friends for a while. We trust each other. He's a hard worker. He's one of those guys where, like, sometimes I'll catch myself not. You know, like maybe I'll do a subpar job sometimes, and just to get it done, I'll admit it, just because there's so much stuff to do in a day, where he's like a perfectionist. He makes sure everything's great, and that's a great quality and characteristic of him. Good friend, and he needed some work. He you know, needed some help, and I offered it to him. We started off slow. I trained him up. He made a few mistakes, and anytime he had a question, he would ask and call, and you know, within a few weeks, it was pretty simple. I mean, at first, it was a little challenge of you know, figuring out the basic things like, where do you find a size tag in a suit? How do you measure what's a pit to pit? What's a length? What's a sleeve length? How do you fill out the template? But it was fairly simple. I think the real challenge would be eventually training somebody to put the actual listing up.
Yeah.
I have experimented with that. I did a video on this where I shared my experience with outsourcing that portion of the process to a person on odesk.com.
Yep.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with that website. So pretty much I outsourced the last piece of the puzzle to them, and I just found that it took too much time for me to upload all the photos to Dropbox, to take all the pictures and just kind of label them so he knew which pictures to put with what listing. And by the time I kind of counted out my time to get it to that person, it was like halfway there where I could have just finished it for not much longer of a time. So it didn't work outsourcing it. online to odess.com, but eventually if I do get a warehouse or something like that, I would definitely like to have somebody do it where they're more in front of me and I can see what's going on.
So what kind of a software do you use for him to do the listings that then can be uploaded later? Is it like a third-party software?
When you give your friend the template, is it literally a piece of paper or is it online?
Okay, yeah, good question. It's just a piece of paper. I'll drop off 40 or 50 items at once and 40 or 50 templates, and he fills out the inventory number on it. Like on each clothing hanger, I have a piece of masking tape with an inventory number, for example, A16, and he fills that out, fills out the brand, all that stuff, and pretty straightforward.
And then, are you paying him by the hour or by the piece, or?
Yeah, I usually pay him by the piece. It differs based on maybe like a tie versus like a clothing item. But I do pay a set price per item because, I'm not there, so I can't really track the time. But I do know from firsthand experience, because I was taking my own pictures, doing the listings for 18 to 20 months. So I know exactly how long it took. So I based it pretty much off of a certain rate per item. And he's been liking it.
This is the question we always talk about on the blog. If you were to put the time in to train somebody and get them to where they can do it quickly, what stops him from being like, man, this guy's making a lot of money. Why don't I just start my own eBay business?
Yeah, how does that?
I'll go find these shirts at Goodwill and sell them on my own store.
Well, one of the things is a lot of people just, the honest truth is they don't save money. They don't have any money. Most people are living check to check, day to day, and they don't really know how they're going to pay the next bill. At least my friend, he doesn't have a lot of money. He doesn't have the time to invest the money. He doesn't have the time to constantly be going out and searching and listing. He's not that very computer savvy. He actually hates computers. He doesn't like dealing with them. And so technically, if you do train up the wrong person who is self-sufficient and independent, eventually they probably will do it on their own. But then again, most people don't have that ability within them to get up and do it on their own. They need someone to constantly be telling them what to do. So as scary as it may seem, most people aren't going to do it. And if they do it, they're probably going to quit just because it's not easy money. You're not going to become a millionaire. It is a very slow process, building your gross sales through, a increased amount of inventory and whatnot.
Now, so it's mentioned it, and there are videos of your storage. Is all of your inventory being stored in a rented storage space?
Yeah, so pretty much most of my clothing is in a 10 by 20 storage unit. It's about $150 a month. It does have a light in it, which is awesome because most storage units don't. And this storage unit is inside, so it's got a gauge for the temperature and whatnot, so it doesn't go under a certain temperature, over a certain temperature. Climate control, that's the word I'm looking for. So especially with clothes and stuff, I wouldn't want to have it outside just because of the moisture and maybe moths or little creatures or
right. And so is that because you don't have enough space at home? Or in your apartment or your house?
Yeah, pretty much. And, I hate having it all at my house just because, used clothing and, it just, I don't like bringing my work home with me technically and having around all the time. Like, it'll drive me crazy. Like, my mind will blow if I see it all the time. You always gotta keep a balance. You really do. You've got to, keep a balance between your family life and social. And I found that's worked best for me to have the storage unit. And some people say, is it really worth it for you to, go to the storage unit every day and pick up inventory? It's only 5 minutes away from me. I mean, if I had to drive 20 minutes, I probably wouldn't want to do it. But it's only 5 minutes away, and you get that separation. And, when I had it at my house, because I did have it in my house, I had it in my room. All my clothes, because I don't have a really big place over here. So I had it all in my room, and I didn't even have a system for inventory. And it was a madhouse every time and I couldn't grow my inventory past 200 items.
We talk about that with it's new people, because I think sometimes they have a hard time getting their head around having a big inventory. What was the point when you realized you could no longer just run your business out of a closet or in an extra bedroom? Like, when was it like, I got to make a change here?
Because I realized that in order for me to make more money, I would have to increase the inventory. I said to myself, how am I going to do this? Am I going to buy a warehouse? And it was so premature at the time. I said, I'm not ready for a warehouse. I don't know if I'm going to be serious about this, because I do have the tendency of kind of jumping from thing to thing. I get bored very, very easily. And that's another reason why I diversify in so many different things between writing books and eBay and Amazon, because I get bored quick.
And that's what we always tell people. If you're at the point where you need to to do something about storage, whether it be get a small building for at your backyard or to rent storage, you should be making enough money at that point where that cost is not a big deal.
And it's deductible on your taxes. I mean, that's a business expense.
Exactly, and I'm blessed to have a CPA.
Oh, you're a lucky man.
So anytime I go buy a new camera or I buy a mannequin, he goes, that's a write-off.
That's what we say, write everything off.
We always tell people that because people start asking us about tax questions, and we're like, get an accountant. Get an accountant. They'll help you out. You know? We've got the inventory. It's listed. It's stored. What do you do about shipping? Who does that?
So I handle the shipping. Like I said, eventually if I do get a warehouse and I do scale my business up to that next tier, I would probably have someone assisting me with that. But right now it's just me, one-man show with shipping. So Monday rolls around, I need to ship out my items. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my house. I'm going to go over to my storage unit. I'm going to pull out my smartphone and I'm going to see all my items that sold. And I'm going to check to see all the inventory numbers. So maybe it'll be A67, B54,
and those
D22.
Are like hidden in the are they somewhere on the page?
They're somewhere on your page.
Yes, they're on my page. You know, it's small. I don't think it really bothers anybody. So I'll say I have 10 items to ship out. I'll click on each thing and it easily shows me the inventory number. So I've got a system for my clothing racks. I have I think I have 4 clothing racks, 4 really big clothing racks in my unit right now that are all systemized and whatnot. So I have it all in order so I can easily find an item and I get them all. I leave the unit. I go home. I put them all. I bag them up, polybag them, put them in the proper box or polybag, whatever I'm going to do for the item, and I print out the labels on eBay. And I either have my post guy pick it up, or if I'm too late, I'll drop it off myself.
Now, we love to talk about these details. So do you have a laser printer or one of those heat transfer label things?
Yeah, so when I first got started, I had the normal, the inkjet printer. Oh, my. Okay, let me tell you a funny story. When I first got started, I was such a crazy person. I had an inkjet printer. Forget the printer. I was writing all my stuff out in hand.
I know. Me too. And then my post office lady was like, "Are you crazy? You're like wasting so much time."
I didn't know the difference between first class mail, priority mail. Like I was a lost puppy in a big world. And I was over at the post office with like 12 items in my hand, not labeled, no weight on them. So they're weighing them all out. People are looking at me like I am going to kill this kid. Eventually, through YouTube, again, thank you everybody on YouTube, I learned that you can print out the labels. So I switched off the inkjet to a laser printer, and currently I have a Brother 2280 DW, which
we love
it's our favorite.
Which thank you Goodwill, I got that for $30 brand new in the box. So I got the laser printer, which is super cheap. You just get the little what are those things called? The toner. Get the toner for $12-13, and I usually don't have to put another one in for quite a few months. As you know, you get the eBay discount, especially if you're if you're a top rated seller, you get even better discount. Bada bing, bada boom.
Now you live in a city, so can you keep it somewhere where the post office will come pick it up, or are you dropping it off?
I'm not like really in the city. I'm just in a town near the city. So it's cool over here. I mean, I could put it out on the steps or whatnot. Most of the time, I'll just drop it off at the post office because it's only a few minutes down the road.
So what kind of quantity are we talking about? Because it seems like on your store, you're doing a lot of quantity. I mean, are you doing 300 items a month?
I wouldn't say I'm doing that much. Maybe if I'm really pushing it, I will. Lately, I've probably been doing, I don't know, maybe anywhere between 150 and 200, maybe a little less, a little more. I don't know the exact number, just because, like I said, you get what you put in. And recently, I've been putting so much time into other things. The beauty about eBay is once you get to a certain inventory level, you can kind of maintain it. So I've just been kind of maintaining it like 10, 15 hours a week and still making a really nice income off it. Really am. Yeah.
Yeah, because I only ask that because I think, too, with new people, we try and explain to them, the thing about when you get successful in eBay is that you have to really carve out a couple hours a day to ship. If you're going to ship 5 or 10 things every day, that's a lot of time,
Yeah, exactly. And the more you do it, the quicker you get. Like I'll fly through 10 items now. Like I'm like a crazy robot.
That
too. Enclosure good too because it's just the poly mailer.
The poly mailer. It's just so easy.
Right.
Usually the poly mailer or the legal flat rate envelopes, which again the post office doesn't really like me using them. I don't know, for some reason they're always giving me a hard time about it.
I love those too.
Yeah.
how do you deal with customers? Because that's, again, something that new people are always butting their heads on, and people like to go to war with customers. I mean, how are you dealing with someone that has a problem or talks to you?
I'll tell you right now, I know exactly how that feels. When I was first getting started, I was going to war left and right. And then eventually I'm like, you're never going to win this war. You never, ever win the war, because if they want to get a return, and most of the times if they're, kind of whining through the message, or they're requesting something, they usually want either their money back or a return. If somebody wants a return on eBay or on Amazon or pretty much any selling platform, you're never going to win it as a seller. These platforms, they protect the buyer like 99% of the time. Because as a business, if you're running an eBay, if you're the owner of eBay or Amazon, what do you want more, buyers or sellers? You could get sellers left and right. That's just basic economics. But getting a buyer is actually very hard. So they protect the buyers all the time. If the buyer wants to get a return, if they want to get their money back, trust me, they can. All they have to do is hit item not described. So I learned after a few months of going to war that if I don't take care of these customers, they're never going to shop from me again, and they're going to leave negative feedback, and then they're going to get their money back too. So you really just got to take care of them. You want to make them happy. You want to give them a good experience, because 99% of people, they're good people, they're decent people, and they're not trying to be jerks. They're not trying to pull a quick one on you. It just, sometimes a piece of clothing doesn't fit or something. Maybe they overlooked something, didn't realize there's a specific detail that they didn't really want for the item, and you just got to take care of them. It's part of the game. I always talk about getting your psychology in line before you start an eBay business, or if you're actually currently going through one, because there's always going to be returns. All the big box stores out there, they all have a certain percentage of returns already built into their whole revenue system and business model. It happens. There's no way around it, especially with physical goods or even digital goods. It happens.
Because we had this problem too. In the early days, we'd get or not a bad customer, but someone that was unhappy. We'd go to war, and it would hurt our whole week because it'd be so much mental energy. It would drain us. You'd feel bad, all that stuff. So
it weighs on you. It really does, and really does. And it doesn't feel good, when you see your inbox has another message and you're like, oh my gosh, what's this going to say? It's like, it doesn't make you feel good. I'm not a warrior at heart. I'm a peaceful person. It seems like you folks are too. You don't want to make people upset. So
we're now just like, if there's a problem, return it. We don't care why. No a reason need to be. Just send it back.
One thing I do in my return policy and my listings is I kind of not scare them, but I do have like a little customized return policy with clothing, because a lot of people I've noticed with clothing, they'll wear it a few times and just return it for occasions and stuff. So what I have in my listing description is I say no returns for clothing not fitting. You have to check the measurements, but it's really just a bluff, just to keep away the crazy people who are just trying to get the item for a day or two. Because if they hit me up and they say I want to return, it doesn't fit, I'm going to give it to them anyways.
It's notorious for higher edge returns than some other items. So do you have like a rate? Like, is it 5%, 2%? Have you figured that out?
Probably less than 3%, I'd say. Well, I take a lot of pride in taking, I like to take a lot of pictures. I like to put the details not only in the title, not only in the item description, not only in the condition bar at the top, but also in the full portion of the description. So I like to be very detailed. I like to almost play stupid, where I just put it so many times. And they're like, why are you telling this so many times? Because a lot of people, they don't look everywhere. And especially with the mobile devices people are buying on, these impulse buys, they won't even look at all the places. So
we see that too.
I mean, plus we always, because, this happened to us starting out, we weren't putting all that information there. We wouldn't put as many of photos, and we were getting a lot of stuff sent back to us.
In the beginning, I wouldn't even write what color it was, which is so insane to me, because people are like, it looked orange, but it was red. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I know exactly what you're saying.
So we learned our lesson pretty quick.
Yeah, the more details, the better. And one thing that I use is I have like a listing template. Not only the listing template that I give to my friend/employee, he fills it out, but I also have the template in Word where I just copy and paste it into my listing. So I have all the information there, and it's just pretty much filling in the blank. So I make sure to cover all the bases.
Now, do you sell internationally? And if so, do you use global shipping program on eBay?
Yep, that's a good question. I do sell internationally. I've tried both. I've done the traditional way where someone buys internationally and you ship it directly to them. And I have tried the global shipping program where when someone internationally purchases your item, you ship it out to an eBay warehouse. Based on my experience with clothing, and again, for folks that are listening, this could differ for different items, but for clothing, my sales dried up a lot when I used the global shipping program. And I'm not sure what the reason is behind it. I do hear rumors from others saying that eBay charges a higher rate to the international customers through the global shipping program. And if you were to think about it, it's probably due to the extra step and them having to be involved in the process as a middleman. So I noticed that my sales kind of went down internationally. I don't have a ton of sales internationally, but I do get them. But I definitely feel like I get a lot more when I handle it myself. And I've never really had many problems. I've had a few problems internationally, but usually with just specific countries like Brazil, Italy, Russia. If you ever ship anywhere like in the Mideast or something. So I definitely would suggest everyone to do a little due diligence, do a Google search, talk to some of your picker reseller buddies, your scavenger friends, and see how they've done what they've had difficulty with, and just exclude certain countries if if you're nervous about it.
Now, just talking about returns again, have you had experience using eBay's hassle-free returns? Have you turned that on your listings?
Actually, I've never used it. I've actually been thinking about getting into it. I was just talking to a buddy the other day, and they've liked it a lot. I guess they said it streamlines the process. I'm not sure if you guys could maybe give me some 2 cents on that.
The good thing is it majorly streamlines it for returns. I actually really like it because once you get the item back, you just click a button and it's all done for you. The refund is done and you relist it right there.
And plus, I was the most skeptical because I was afraid people would just always blame us for
item not described.
Right.
But you know what? 99% of people seem honest, and they're just like, it doesn't fit me the way I thought, so I'll pay the shipping, no problem.
I mean, we've also heard stories from people who are like, everyone's saying item not as described, and we have not had that experience at all. So,
and you guys sell a whole bunch of different types of items, or do you specialize?
We sell
everything,
and we sell a lot of clothes and a lot of shoes, but we also sell like housewares, artwork, antiques, just any crazy thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think it's for us, that's one positive thing about being in the country is that we have almost unlimited storage just because we have a lot of space. So, we find anything we can buy for $1 or $2 and sell for
even furniture
over $40 or $50. We buy it. It makes it fun. I mean, kind of like you said. I think a big problem with selling on eBay full time is I think it's pretty easy to get bored. It can start feeling like a grind. So we just mix it up where we'll just buy things so we can learn about it and research, and we just have fun that way.
Have fun, yeah.
And there's so many different types of items out there. I mean, we could turn this show into a 24-hour live event, just naming off the different types of items you can buy and sell.
Now we're getting to the home stretch here, so we've dealt with people, we've sold stuff. Could you give us some numbers? Like, what kind of numbers are you doing every month? Like, as far as your income? I mean, if that's okay asking.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So. Like I said, I've been doing this for probably about a little over a year and a half. The first year I did it, I think I ended up doing on eBay somewhere over 50,000 gross, probably around a little over a 50% profit margin. So this year I'm probably aiming towards maybe 75.
And that's gross. So what do you think is actually in the bank account to pay for bills? Is that half of that?
Yeah, so usually like with clothing, my profit margin is usually around the 50, probably anywhere between 40 and 70% profit. Yeah. So if you probably take it all into consideration, probably fall somewhere in the 50% tile. I mean, that's probably on average 25 to 35 hours a week if you were probably to tally it all up.
Which is amazing. That's really good.
And so, and I think it also helps for new people to hear, what was the schedule of its profits? Like when you first started, it's a zero. Like how many months did it start to make it where you could pay rent? Was it 3-4 months?
Until I could really, pay all my bills from it and stuff. Like I was working at, at these restaurants and whatnot for about 6 or 7 months. So until I scaled it up to the point where, I could leave that place, it took that amount of time. So probably about 6 or 7 months. But then again, I am focusing on different things. I was doing Craigslist and I was doing eBay and, YouTube and a few other different side gigs. A good 6 or 7 months it probably took me to really get the inventory in, to get the knowledge up, and really get the sales flowing. It definitely takes some time. Some people could do it quicker, some take longer, but that's kind of how it worked out for me.
I think it took us a good 18 months because we were still kind of part-time, and plus it took us time to really learn how to do it right. So, I always encourage new people, like, it's never going to happen. It's within 30 days. Like, I know people hate their jobs, but you can't quit right away. I feel
you got to ramp it up.
Yeah, you got to ramp it up.
And you got to take into consideration, like, the bills that you have. I mean, some people, they have a lot of rent. Some people have a few kids. They have a family. They're taking, care of their father, or they've got a school bill. So luckily, I was blessed not to have a lot of bills, and I didn't have a whole bunch of weight on my shoulders and a whole bunch of money that I had to have come in consistently. So that definitely helped. If you've got a lot of responsibilities, like I said, a family, kids, and you have a lot of bills coming in every month, I would say take it very slow and cautious, like a cat. Kind of creep up on it and see what's going on before you really jump into it like a crazy person.
And then the last thing is, so now that you've made all this money, bills are paid, but at the end of the a year, the IRS needs to be paid. So you're using your father as a CPA. Was it hard to learn?
Sure.
I mean, how do you keep track of your numbers and expenses and all that stuff?
Right. So thanks again to YouTube. Shout out to Dallas Moore. He got me onto this this program that I use. It's an application through eBay. I'm not sure if you folks are familiar with GoDaddy Bookkeeping.
That's what we use too.
You guys use that. So you keep track of. Yeah, it's awesome. It syncs all your information from eBay over into it in terms of like your income and whatnot, and then you could input all your cost of goods, your supplies, your any type of expenses. You put all your receipts in and whatnot. So that's how I keep track of it all. It was a learning curve, at the end of the year, and figuring out, what, writing off certain, expenses and depreciating things. For this year, I'm actually paying my taxes quarterly. So I'm paying a sales tax and a federal tax quarterly, just so at the end of the year, I don't have a whole bunch of money to pay. Because,
I mean, you gotta.
And especially with, I did really well on my first book that I released, which is 101 Killer Clothing Brand. So if anyone's listening, you're trying to learn clothes, I did release a guide that pretty much walks you through the brands that I buy and sell. We decided to set up the quarterly payment, so I'm sitting in a payment for my taxes every quarter. So at the end of the year, I'm not stuck with a big bill.
I think that's true for people who have worked for others their whole lives, since taxes just get kind of pulled out of their paychecks. I think it's always like a big shock when they get that big tax bill at the end of a year that they have to pay.
If you're on eBay or you're self-employed and you're bringing in 50, 60 grand at the end of the year, net profit, you're going to be dropping 10, 15, 16 grand.
It's a lot of money.
So you definitely, paying quarterly, it's not really going to save you any money, but it's going to kind of put you in a position for, God forbid, if something really bad happens and, you got your money tied up, that you're not going to be left with a huge, huge bill at the end of the year.
Now, this is my last question. It's kind of like the one we always ask people, and that's like, it's your goals. I think what's interesting about you and other like popular sellers online, it seems like if you start going into making ebooks and coaching and you build these sites, I mean, is that really making money for you? Like, is that the goal, the kind of dream?
I don't know if it's like a dream or anything, or that's why I'm doing it. Some people might think, but that's not it at all. I mean, I love what I do. I love, I love picking and reselling, and I love helping people. I love how, like, when I first got started, I'm so grateful for all the people that helped me out and gave me the information. And when I first got started, there was nobody really talking about clothing or that specific niche. There was a few people creating ebooks. It definitely is a good income, especially if you have an audience and you're adding value to people's lives. My first book did really, really well. It's helped a ton of people out every single day. People messaging me. It's a very good passive income stream. And the good thing about passive income is you make money when you don't have to physically work, which allows you to have your time, which is pretty much my biggest commodity is my time, because you only have and I know you folks know firsthand. I mean, you only have so much time in the day, and being able to make the income from, the books and whatnot gives me the time to, pick more and to help others more. I'm always going to be picking regardless. If I was a millionaire, if I won the lottery, I'm still going to be picking just a little bit because it's just such a fun, I love doing it. I love the thrill, the hunt.
That's kind of the way we are. I think, once I think you start doing this and it starts to click, I think it kind of ruins you. I mean, we talked about it. It's with other people. Like, we could never work for somebody else ever again, and that's a good thing. But you got to be careful because you can never really go back, I think.
Exactly. You got to constantly be working and looking forward and innovating and being creative. And that's one of the reasons why I'm focusing on so many different income streams. I mean, eBay, Amazon FBA. I know if I'm not constantly working and pushing forward, you could easily revert back into that 9 to 5, needing to work for the boss man type of gig. And I can't see myself ever doing it. So
Steve, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. I had a ton of fun.
Thanks so much, Steve.
See ya.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.